I seen a picture of his boots getting delivered to the ground and that, and I'm thinking, where's he?
It can only happen with Sunderland, Dave.
I know. You see other people, there's a rumour, and then they sign the next year.
Yeah. Not with us, it's not, Davey.
Oh, it's always like you say, complicated.
I know.
I mean, I wasn't expecting him playing tomorrow now, because he'll have to get international clearance, wouldn't he?
I know. But anyway, we're live. Davey, hello, mate. You all right? How you doing?
Hello, everybody.
Got no Rosie tonight. I was having video problem connections with her. I was getting so I'm going to message Rosie later on and tell her what's going on that department. Bloody bugs and stuff. So Davey, how are you doing?
Well, Mum, champion, son.
It is the Roker Park special show tonight, but obviously we've got to mention where is our new signing? Where the hell is he?
Has anybody seen him?
Has anybody seen him? Crikey. Right then, so Davey, Roker Park days, as you can see, I've got the background, Roker Park. We're going to jump straight in. Jeff's in the channel. He says, loads of memories of Roker. He says, but my best involves some history. He says, the year 1973 was from an old pit village called, Station Town. He says, a lot of lads were Man City fans because Colin Bell had relations there. He says, we found out City would be playing them. My dad wrote a letter pleading for tickets. Sure enough, on Thursday they arrived, was chuffed, and got a silk blue scarf, and the result, of course, was 2-2 before the replay. He says, again, Dad got tickets for Roker. I proudly wore my blue scarf in the grandstand seats. Was absolutely gutted the result was 3-1. I've never seen out like it in the full world. Red and white was just amazing.
Yeah.
The rest is history, but for that night I was proper cheesed off. Suppose that night changed me, and I've supported the lads ever since. That's mad, isn't it? That's crazy. Hello, Pixel Rich, how are you doing? He says, Jeff, do you still live there? He says, I live in Wingate, though I lived in Chesterley Street in 73. Won't ever forget the 5th of May 73. Andrew, hello Andrew, how are you doing? Ken Walton says, good evening to you both. Jerry says, good evening guys. Andrew Moore says, plenty of photo of Enzo on a plane and that. He says, nothing more yet. He's had a medical apparently too. Rosie, hello Rosie, how are you doing? He come for his medical last night, but there's not even any news that if he's passed that or not.
No.
he might have broke his femur bone or something.
Yeah.
Goodness
knows. There's no word come from the club regarding it whatsoever.
It's the big announcement, Davey. That's what it's going to be. It's like the big cliffhanger, the big grand finale. That's what they're doing.
But I could understand that if the cat wasn't out the bag, but it is.
Well, of course it is.
I mean, even his ex Claudio Ranieri's been talking about him leaving, and he wishes him well, and all this, but not a word from us.
I know. Well, I would ask that. Were you listening to Total Sport today?
Well, I've had it on tonight there.
Even Benno was. Nick Barnes said, "Oh, he's definitely signed. He's here. He's here." Well, you know, I don't know. You just never know until you see his scarf above his head, do you?
That's it. Just so you get confirmation of the club, and then you can think, right, it's done.
Dougie Stewart says, hi Cabbie and Davey. He says, Andrew Moore, Roker Park started out in the Roker end with my dad in the 1980s. He says, got promoted to the clock stand paddocks. Once I was old enough to go with my mates. David Joblin says, good evening, Stuart and Davey. Rosie Law says he will most probably get announced tomorrow at the game. I mean, it's not a good advert for him, is it? Let's come to the stadium light against Stoke when there's like 9,000 there.
That's me good, that like.
Fetch him into the stadium of light when there's 46,000 there. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
Just reading some more. The messages are coming in mental, man.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Jeff says, used to love the clock stands. Andrew. Jim N says, maybe waiting for international clearance, which can take an additional time, says Jim. He's Pixel Rich says, lads, either him or their lass need to be spotted in Jackie White's market before I believe he's here. Is Enzo Lafay Davey's nephew? Says Mackem on a mission. Hey, we never know. And David Walker says we are very slow with the announcements. And I know it's the Roker Park show, this, but naturally you can understand why people are wanting to talk about this.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because it's a massive... One of the biggest.
It's a massive transfer. It is absolutely huge. I've never seen this coming, not in a month of Sundays.
No, I mean, did you see the Sky Sports announcement? Even they were excited for us.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
They were shocked.
Yeah, it's
one of the biggest transfers ever in the Championship.
It is, but we're not there yet.
No, until you see him, like you say, with a scarf. Or just some announcement from the club to say it's signed, sealed, and delivered.
Have you seen the picture? There's a delivery has been sent to the Academy Light. It's got his boots or something in, and people have been joking, saying that must be his left leg. His right leg will arrive tomorrow in the FedEx box.
Oh God! Yeah, the league themselves wide open, didn't they? For like.
It's all down to the PA staff. It's either there is something to do with clearance, or it's the PA staff wanting the big hurrah, the big curtain raiser. Jeff says, "Are we happy if it comes off? Seems like a lot of money." Mackem on a mission, all the way to the Premier League, all the way. And Jeff says, "Does it mean people are leaving?"
No, why not likely?
Anyway, if anybody hears anything, just let us on the chat. Davey, we're talking about Roker Park, obviously. What's your first memory of Roker Park? Can you remember?
Yeah. My first memory of Roker Park was 1969. My father took us to see Sunderland versus Liverpool, and it was on a Monday night. And it was the last home game of the season, and Sunderland had to win to stave off relegation. Liverpool had already won the league, so they didn't have to win. But Sunderland had to win, and I always remember we lost 1-0, and Chris Lawler scored the goal, and Sunderland were relegated that day.
Right. And what stand were you in, did you say?
Liverpool had already won the title, so... The crack was that, Liverpool had let Sunderland win because they want Sunderland to stop up and all that, but it didn't happen.
Whereabouts were you standing or sitting?
I was in the Roker end. It's the only time I've ever been in the Roker end to watch a match.
God. And that was...
I've only been 69, I'll have only been 8-year-old. So my father took us, and my father had never ever took me to a match since. That is the only match he's took me. I took him to the second match in about the 90s, and that was at Middlesbrough away. And he got absolutely drocked because we were in the weir end and there was no roof on, and it started down from the morning till the night. And we're in the open end, and he went off it. And he said he'd never got to another match because he got dropped. And me and my brother were just laughing. I'll always remember that.
Of course, that was the older Roker end when it was a lot bigger than what it was because it got chopped down, didn't it?
Oh, it did. Got chopped down.
Why did it get chopped down? Was it safety things?
Definitely, it's got to be safety, wasn't it?
Because it was all made of wood, wasn't it? The supports.
And it was it went up like that, like a pig top on it.
Mm-hmm.
The way it went up and then back down.
Yeah, because I mean, if we're all the back was all wooden stanchions and sleepers, wasn't it? And
yeah,
But,
most of my time, and I mean vast, I would say 99% of my time was spent in the Fulwell end. I absolutely loved it. I loved that Fulwell end. There was just something about the atmosphere in there was just amazing.
I was just going to say...
The big roof over it, and the noise just seemed to just be electric like.
Well, what I was just going to say, Rosie Law says Aston Villa 0, West Ham 1 in the cup so far. What was the difference between you being in the Fulwell end and where you're sitting now in the stadium?
It's just like chalk and cheese, isn't it?
It's mad, isn't it?
The Fulwell end, I just remember always like you got in and it was chocker, and like where you were standing, when you scored a goal, you ended up like 50 yards to the right, or 50 yards to the left, or 50 yards forward afterwards. It was just amazing. The crowd used to just tack you over like waves. I used to love it in the Fulwell. Love it.
Yeah, I always remember coming up the back steps, and if you were running late, and it was always heaving. And the first thing that used to hit me was the heat of all the body heat of everybody. So it could be cold.
It was never cold in the Fulwell end, was it?
Never was. No.
Like now I sit in the stands at the Stadium of Light. I mean, like on Sunday when I was sitting, I mean, I was in good seats, covered like, no rain got on us or nothing like that. But it was absolutely bitterly cold.
Aye.
You couldn't feel your fingers or your feet.
No.
But in the Fulwell end, doesn't matter how bad the weather was, you were never cold.
It was all the body heat. It's the first thing that hit you was the smell of fags, beer, food, Oxo, Bovril, pies. It was a concoction of a mixture of smells like that. And but the heat, it wasn't an uncomfortable heat. It was just like it was like, I don't know, it was like a comfortable warm feeling. You should just hit you. And if there wasn't any singing, you could hear all the mumbling by like whatever the Fulwell end held. I don't know what the capacity of the Fulwell end was, but you could just hear like a dulcet tone of just everybody mumbling like that. It was just it was just class, wasn't it?
Amazing.
It was class, and of course they had to keep little walkways, didn't they? The thin walkways, they had to keep them empty for safety reasons, whatever. But half the time, because I was a short arse, I was either right down the front, which I wasn't a fan of because I hate looking at a game pitch level.
I do.
So if the only reason I could do with the Fulwell end was I would stand on the end. So it was like literally just on the exits, the little narrow exits. There was like a gap, wasn't there?
Aye.
That's the only thing. Or if you wanted to go outside, you'd go on the corner where the floodlights were, but you were in the open air.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
You stand out to the corner, and that's where like the pie, they sold the pies and the bovrils in the corner, like behind the floodlight. Aye,
because there wasn't. I mean, when it was full everywhere. But I mean, if you did get any gaps, it'd be where the floodlights were.
Aye. The toilets was behind the stand, behind the Fulwell end at the back. The toilets was like stone toilets, and the pittle was all over. It was always full of pittle. You smelt them before you got to them.
Aye. Hey, but at full time though, they just went round with a bucket of GS fluid and a brush, didn't they?
Aye.
That's what they did.
You used to pittle against the wall, didn't you?
Aye.
For a trough in the bottom.
Aye.
There was 3 cubicles and out then.
No, there wasn't. But you know what? We loved every second of it, man.
You did, man.
We're just going to catch up on some more chat. Cheers for everybody tuning in. We've got 30 people watching the show so far, which is excellent for a Friday. Once again, people are talking about the signing, which you didn't blame them. David Jobham says, excellent signing if it's true. David Walker says, Tom Cowie said it was safety when they knocked the Roker end down. What year did they knock the Roker end down or reduced it?
Somebody will tell us, won't they?
Because it must have been weakened in the war because Sunderland got heavily bombed. I mean, I've heard by the old timers that a lot of it was to do with the structure was weakened with all the bombers that Sunderland had, but I don't think Roker Park got hit, did it?
No, not to my knowledge.
I've seen all the pictures because my dad had all the books. The Sunderland was a mess, especially the shipyards, because it was a heavy industry, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Harry SAFC says Sunderland to get to the FA Cup final, 1992 all over again. It's a Hummel thing.
Oh,
We never know. Jeff says, Davey, were you in the Fulwell end when the barcodes came in?
the barcodes, is that hooligans?
The Newcastle fans.
I was never a hooligan. Like,
No.
I used to like your football too much to get involved with any of that rubbish.
I was saying, were you in the Fulwell end when the Newcastle fans were in there?
No, I can't remember that.
There's a video on YouTube, and you can see hundreds of them getting escorted out.
Right.
There's a clip of it. Andrew Moore says the Fulwell end was definitely. Oh, sorry, it's just my son's coming.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Fulwell end was definitely the heart and soul of Roker Park. Best memory was a derby. A few mags got on the Fulwell end. Coppers got them out before they got battered and marched them up to the away end. Andrew Moore says they were getting bombarded with coins. One of them had his hood up and was picking up all the money, the little rat. Rosie Law says the 1973 Cup game looked class when I watched it on YouTube, which absolutely does. Stephen Taylor has just joined.
Oh, Stevie, lad.
All right, Stephen Taylor. He says, one of my memories, guys, was when the Mags took the Fulwell end and I took my best man to his first game. He said to me, where's the famous Roker Raw? Then all you heard was, United, United. So, interesting. What year was that, Steve?
Aye.
Rosie watched the semi and quarter-finals too. Brilliant, says Jeff. Andrew Moore says, a lad used to work with, has the metal rail him and his dad used to stand next to in his back garden after they sold off all the stuff when it was demolished. Yeah, there was, we mate Ted Foster, he had rows and rows of seats from the, not the main red stand, the clock stand, the paddocks to the other side.
Yeah.
He had all the seats, hundreds of them. Andrew Moore says early 80s it was taken down. 1982, David Walker, the Roker end, was knocked down. Rosie Law says October 29th, 1982. D. Hall says Sunderland bombings was in 1943. Weirside's courage as bombs landed on Roker Park. Pixelovich says, hi lads, Cubicles, he says, went to a game, early 70s, in a brand new fashionable brown suede bomber jacket. Later on, I find some TWAT had urinated in his pocket. Oh, that's just class. That's just what you want, isn't it?
Aye.
I got a message. I'm going to read you this if I can find it.
Yeah.
This is from a guy that regularly watches our shows on pre-recorded as well, because you live in Tokyo. And it says, hi Mackem Cabbie Davey. He says, I'm Chris Minton. He says, Sunderland fan living in Tokyo these days. He says, I'm a big fan of your videos. Thank you. He says, you asked about memories of Roker Park. He says, well, I have well over 100, but I'll put forward my first ever game at Roker Park. He said, Sunderland drew 2-2 against the holders of the European Cup, October 1980. He says, and the final league game was 3-0. And he's saying, do you know who that was against? He says, it's a little quiz that. He says, and the final league game, 3-0, and who was that against? If you know that one.
Yeah.
I was in the Roker end and nobody left early that day. He says, maybe half an hour after the final whistle, the ground was still full and clapping. All the players, they put Lou Reed's perfect day over the tannoy. Lots of tears that day. So many more memories in between. Though, so looking forward to your show. I may not be able to listen live. Other special mentions I watched at Roker Park was Sunderland versus Gillingham, Gary Bennett's 90th minute lifeline header.
Aye.
Sunderland v Spurs, Gascoigne eating a thrown on Mars bar that was getting chucked on the pitch. He says another one was Milk Cup semi-final v Chelsea, a brace from Colin West.
Yeah.
He says, well...
I remember that was a frozen pitch.
A frozen pitch, was it?
Aye, frozen, proper frozen. They couldn't stand up. They won 2 out.
He says, too many to mention. He says, I probably won't be able to listen live, but look forward to your show with
thank you for fixing in, mate.
Davey. Yeah. He says, I'll definitely watch. I can't wake up for the live one, but by the way, my first game at Roker Park was against Nottingham Forest. He says, Gary Rowell and Alan Brown puts us 2-0 up. But Gary Mills pulls one back and Ian Bowyer equalised in the last minute. Things haven't changed much.
No, you're right there.
So there we go. And it's you got listeners all over the place, just messaging in and stuff, you know.
So he listens from Tokyo, right? That's brilliant, isn't it?
It's class, isn't it?
Yes, that's what it's all about, man.
Jerry says, I'm from Southwick. He said, supported Sunderland since I was 12. Went to live in Lancaster because my stepfather got a job there. I remember meeting my uncle and walking over the bridge to see the Kinnell, Suggett, etc. I don't know what he's on about there, but it means something. Do you know what he means by that, Davey?
Colin Suggett.
Uh-huh.
Aye, great player.
Oh, Connell, he's put Kinnell. It's Connell Suggett. He was a good player, was he?
Aye. Played for Newcastle and Sunderland.
Steve Taylor says April 1985 when Mags took the full end. And Stephen Taylor also says last game at Roker Park was Everton. I think that's the one where Chris Waddle scored that cracking free kick, wasn't it?
Aye. All right.
I think so.
I remember what the last game was, or who scored the last ever goal at Roker Park.
Someone tells me it was Chris Waddle. I know he took a free kick. It was about 20 odd yards, 30 yards out, and it rifled into the net.
That must be in the record book. So somebody on there should know who scored the last goal at Roker Park.
The last ever league goal at Roker Park. I know the last ever game at Roker Park was Sunderland against Liverpool. We won 1-0. It was like a friendly.
All right. To close the stadium. I remember that.
To close the stadium was Sunderland against Liverpool.
Yeah.
John smiles. Hello, John. He says, for some reason, Lefebvre reminds me of a player in the style of Nick Sharkey. Andrew Moore says, Davey, the worst frozen pitch I remember was against Liverpool. It got abandoned at half time. Was that right?
Yeah.
Well, if it got abandoned at half time, what the hell must it have been like watching that game in the first half?
I've seen a game be abandoned at half time with fog, and now at Roker Park.
Yeah, good, massive point. Many games I used to turn up, especially in night games, in the fog. And
it was always misty, wasn't it?
It was
always misty.
Always misty. You just seen the beams of light, because obviously when it's foggy, yeah, the beams from the floodlights stood out more, didn't they? And sometimes you could just barely see the full end at the other side. And it always seemed to be sort of touch and go, whether it was foggy or was going to get called off. Especially in the winter months. Of course, that's what you get living right near the North Sea, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I've got loads of highs and loads of lows at Roker Park, but I must say, the best game I've ever been to at Roker Park and would live long in my memory, I'll never ever forget the quarter-final replay in '73 against Man City. That's one of the best games I've ever seen at Roker Park.
What was so special about that, Davey? I know it was the FA Cup, but what?
It was just a strange night. It was just absolutely heaving. The noise, I've never heard noise like it. It was packed. I mean, there was 53,000 there, but there must have been 70,000 in the ground, without a shadow of a doubt. But the official crowd was 53. And it was like a horrible, misty, rainy night. And Sunderland just played absolutely fantastic. And Man City then were like what Liverpool are now.
Also, they were just as good as Leeds, I'd read thereabouts, were they?
Oh, shut of it out. Man City were like what the Liverpool is of today. It was a massive. It was a amazing result when we got a draw down there. And then when we brought them back here, everybody just thought, oh, Man City will win 4-5 now. And Sunderland beat them 3-1. And it is still the best goal I've ever seen at Roker Park was Vic Hams in the full end.
Really?
It was like that Holland bloke who scored, Van Basten, with him who scored from like on the angle when he just lasted in the top corner.
Marco Van Basten in one of the World Cups, I think, yeah.
Exactly like that, but it was even further out.
Really?
It was amazing goal. Try and watch it. You better watch it on YouTube.
I will do.
Black and white pictures, but it's an amazing game. Amazing.
When did they score their goal? Man City then?
I think it was. I think it was like Sunderland were like. It might have been ones each. They might have equalised. I mean, I'm not a Franny Lee equalised. I think he might have made it 1-1, and then Sunderland scored in the second half 2 goals. And one of them was Vic Hams. Amazing goal. Absolutely amazing.
And I take it you were in the full end?
In the full end, aye.
Mental that. Like, did Man City bring many up?
I can't remember.
I
would imagine so, like. I just remember the crowd there must have been 70,000 there, easy.
Really?
Aye. And them days, like what I think the punters just said there, nobody left early, Cabbie. Nobody. And if you'd had a good result and it was a vital game, you'd still be there an hour after. And look how they leave now. They're in home now.
Aye, I know. So you're saying after the full time there, the ground was still full?
Chocker, and they would cheer and sing, and the players would come out, and it was just amazing.
But the players came back out?
Aye.
That's
great, man.
That's nuts. You only get that at the end of the season.
I know.
That's
great,
crazy,
man.
that, like, isn't it?
Aye.
Ken Walton, hello Ken, says, hi Cabbie, ask Dave about Vic Hams' goal against Man City replay. He's just I've just said it, yeah. Dougie Stewart says, absolutely. Pastor Alex says, hello.
Hello, Pastor.
Hello, Pastor. I don't think I don't know if he knows about Roker Park. I'm sure he might get in touch. Dougie Stewart says, my first game at Roker Park was Sunderland 3, Birmingham 0. Tom Ritchie hat-trick. 1981.
Can he centre forward?
Colin Major's in.
Oh, Colin.
Hello, Colin. He says, the last ever goal was John Mullen.
Aye.
Was that against Everton, was it, Colin?
Must have been against Man United, was it? Or
I don't know. Was that against Everton, Colin? Because wasn't Everton our last league game at Roker Park? I'll have a look at that. Get back, Colin. Andrew Moore says, my dad used to tell us some mad tales of watching Cloughie play at Roker Park. He says, wish I could have seen some of those games.
Yeah.
Steve Taylor says, I'm with Dave. Greatest ever game my time was Man City.
Right.
John Smiles also says, great game against Man City. Jerry says, Davey, I went to City v Sunderland when it ended up 2-2. Good game. Corrigan was the weak link.
Right.
David Joblin says, excellent game, Man City. The crowd was very loud. Everybody's saying Man City.
Aye. It was just an amazing game because we weren't expected to win. I mean, we weren't expected to win most of them because when we played Arsenal in the semi-final, Arsenal would have been like 1-20 on or something, long odds on, and we beat them. That's
mad. Like, I'll watch it again. I'll watch it back on that. I mean, I don't think it's the full replay, is this? Is it just the highlights?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to.
Watch the semi-final. I think the semi-final is a canny bit coverage on it. Might be 50 odd minutes or something.
Because it's at Hillsborough, isn't it? And
Sunderland was in the opposite end, like the Roker Park end. Aye. It's all open, and they filled the whole end.
They did, and that's before they had the roof on.
Aye. That's when Bob Stokoe come on at the end crying.
Bob Wilson was in goal. Good keeper, him, you know.
Bob Wilson was in goal, and Charlie George was playing for them.
Two good players, then.
And he was like Erling Haaland, what Erling Haaland is now. Charlie George was like him, a superstar.
Charlie George. He scored on that semi-final day, because I remember him running and picking the ball up out the back of the net and running, and he ran with the ball in his arm, and he quickly plunked the ball in the centre spot as if to say, right, here we go.
That's it. Aye.
I remember old there's a David Coleman and Charlie George goes, and the old commentary, and he's running back, and he had this funny run, Charlie George, like that, and his hair was like slashing about left, right. He looked like a heavy metal rocker when he was running back.
He always had long hair,
aye, but he ran like a rooster like that when he was running back with the ball.
Aye.
But great player though, Dave.
Aye.
Great player. David Walker says Liverpool farewell to Roker Park game. He says Pixelovich says, no lads, the John Mullen goal was the last ever goal scored at Roker Park versus Liverpool friendly. He says I was there that night too. Aye. David D Hall says although they played a friendly against Liverpool to give it one last send off, he says their clash with Everton on May the 4th, 1997 was the last match where there were points at stake. Yeah, and I think Sunderland won that last game 3-0. I'm sure they did. I think that's what it was. But my first ever experience of Roker Park was I was at the junior school, Diamond Hall Junior School in Sunderland, and the headmaster got hold of some tickets, and it was the Sunderland boys against Liverpool boys.
Right.
And I was always, every time I drove around Roker Park, if I was in my sister's car or something like that, there was something about the floodlights at Roker Park that just amazed us. It was like, how can I put it? Like a beacon. There was four beacons that basically told us, like, what's beyond that? What's inside that? Do you know what I mean? What's inside there? I want to have a look, because everywhere you went in Sunderland, at some angle, wherever you looked, you could see the 4 floodlights.
Right.
You know what I mean? And every now and again, whether we were driving to get a new carpet for the house or something like that, because I didn't get any games, and when we drove around Roker Park, I used to get goose pimples.
Right.
Who's that? Quality. I used to get goose pimples because just seeing these floodlights, and I knew there was like something behind there. What is it? But believe it or not, at that time, I was a Liverpool fan.
Aye.
In the
How old did you be then, Cabbie?
Well, I'll tell you the team I was in awe with Liverpool. They had Phil Neal, Kenny Dalglish, Alan Hansen, Jan Molby.
Aye.
That was the era. And the strip was the thin white pinstripes.
The waist strip was like yellow with like the stripe through.
It was like a metallic effect, like it was a metallic yellow with a thin red stripes with crown prints. Of course, Ian Rush.
Jan Molby used to look good fat in it, didn't he?
Aye. There was another one. Was it Sam Neil or something? Sammy Lee. Sammy Lee. Aye. He was a little dumpling and all.
Aye, little dumpling. Aye.
But I was just in awe of them because they were just winning everything, and it was like
they were top side then, like.
But yeah, my first game, proper. Well, like I say, when we got the headmaster got tickets for the whatever year we were in at Diamond Hall Junior School, and they were like 50p each, I think. Were paid to go into the game. This is Sunderland boys, mind, and there was only the main stand open, the clock stand. There was only and it was absolutely Baltic, freezing, clear sky. It was a clear sky, and I can't remember going into the main stand. And I remember sort of going up these steep steps, and it was like dark and dingy, but the steeps, it was get steep going up because we were right in the top of the seats. And I remember this steward waiting just before we went into the clocks, the paddocks, the main stand, should I say. And I remember them saying, "Get your ear defenders on today, lads. It's gonna be noisy." That's what he said to us, me and my dad. And I must have been about, 11, 10, don't know, maybe he's 9-year-old even.
Aye.
And I always remember first time seeing the pitch under the floodlights and how bright it was. And it was like, and my jaw just dropped. It's not a Wembley Stadium. It's not the new camp or out like that. But to see that pitch for the first time,
under lights,
glowing, it was like, oh my God. Do you know what I mean? It's like you couldn't. The sky was black. Everything around it was black, but this pitch was just a beacon. It was just shining like mad. It was like, wow.
And would there have been any players playing who made it?
Good question. Do you know, I've tried to look.
I look back,
and I will keep looking. And I think we lost the game 3-0 because Liverpool boys, I had a cracking side.
Aye.
And when the full-time whistle went, me and how many of us from Diamond Doll School had started singing "It's a fix, it's a fix, it's a fix." We started chanting that, you know. But my first ever taste of Roker Park, the proper match, is because I was too young and my dad wouldn't let us go into the game on my own. And I used to always see my mate Jason Webster, who lived about 9 doors up from the same street I lived in. And every day, when match day, I used to see him walking past down the street, and I could see him walking down, and he had his scarf on and his hat on, and he used to always give us a thumbs up, and I'm thinking, like, I want to go now, you know, but weren't allowed. But I remember I went fishing at Roker Park. There was a big pond in Roker Park, and I had my net and gone for sticklebacks, and I didn't even know there was a match on at the time, believe it or not. And I just heard this massive roar, like, yeah, get loud, like that. And this old fella, I don't know who he was to this day, just went, up, they've scored. And this roar, and ever since that day, I was hooked. That's when I transitioned from Liverpool to Sunderland. When I experienced the roar from outside the ground. Not inside the ground. So I'm standing there with a little jam jar with my stickleback swimming around where I've caught, and this roar from behind us. It was like it was then I got injected with a Sunderland virus for life. Queer. I don't know what game we were playing, who it was against, and I never looked back since that day, and I didn't even get into the game. So can you work that out? How did I get hooked supporting Sunderland by not even seeing it?
A lot of people did, Cabbie, because like when I was a young and like 15, 16, everybody went to the match, like everybody.
Aye.
Because there wasn't things to do then that there is now for young uns. You just went to the match. Like you got to school.
Aye.
You went to the match.
You built up for it, didn't you? And of course, there was the night game.
Like I say, it was like going to school. You know, where you take for granted you go to school every year.
You do.
You just, then years you went to school, but then on the weekend you went to the match.
That's right.
You like, it's the butts, or I didn't want to go on, or I want to go and play someone else. You just went to the match.
My first ever league game was against, believe it or not, Carlisle United. And I went with my dad in the Roker end, and it finished 2-2, and I think Proctor and Kennedy scored for Sunderland because we got Alan Kennedy from Liverpool.
Aye, that's right.
And I always remember missing one of the goals. I don't know what I was doing. I was standing right at the corner at the Roker end, and there was if you're standing too far back in the Roker end, you cannot see a little bit of the ground.
All right.
And I just remember us racing forward. I didn't see the players. Someone could have been standing in front. I didn't know, and I just kept looking around like that. And I didn't look at the pitch. I just looked at the full well end, and I just remember this roar going, "Go on!" as the build-up was, and then there was a silence for about a second, and then everybody just went up, went daft in the full well end. It was a goal. That's how I knew it. That was my first goal I seen at Roker Park by watching the full well end to see what their reaction was going to be, and I heard it. Because at Roker Park, what I used to like as well was when we scored at the full well end, and I was in the Roker end, there was a delay. It's like the ball would hit the back of the net in the full end. You'd just see the full end gun up before anywhere in the ground. So they were jumping up first before the rest, and then the rest followed. It was like a tsunami. It was weird.
And you know when you were in the full end, you seem to think that the crowd sucked the ball into the net. A lot of people have said that.
Oh, it was incredible.
Aye.
Absolutely incredible, man.
Aye. It's amazing.
I mean, do you think it was the roof that gave it that extra bit of oomph or echo?
Aye. Just there wasn't many clubs had big roofs like that, like right over the whole end, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right down the sides and over the top, right up to the front, a big, massive steel roof, wasn't it?
Because that was installed for the 1966 World Cup, wasn't it?
Aye.
To keep the teams abroad, the fans warmer. So if we didn't have the World Cup in England, we wouldn't have had that roof on the full end.
No.
It's quite that, isn't it?
Aye. Amazing times, Cabbie.
I still find it
funny, you know. It's funny when you get old, you know, you forget, like last week, you forget, I've been to shops, I forgot. But you never forget of like 50 years ago.
You can
It's mad, isn't it?
It's
absolutely, it's amazing.
Well, we used to go to, it wasn't classed as under 21s then, it was the Sunderland Reserves. And we used to go and watch all the reserve games and all. And because I couldn't afford to go and sit in the main stand seats, but it was 50p in the main seats if it was a reserve game. And the likes of Richard Ord used to play a lot for the reserves, and I used to remember when we played Newcastle now and again, they'd put it was Newcastle fans, but they'd put them in the paddocks opposite. There was a handful of them. Absolutely Baltic, because obviously it's you haven't got the full attendance, have you, at the reserve game? But we went to every single game, even the reserves. So you went to the reserve games, and then you went to the first teams and the night matches. It felt like it was your second home. You were never away from the place.
Aye, crazy, isn't it?
Never away. I'm going to read some more messages.
Oh, aye. Get some messages out. I like the messages.
So we're catching up. Excellent crowd at Sheffield in the semi-final, says David Joblin. I think. Are you on about the last? Oh yeah, the semi-final. Yeah, well, of course. Hillsborough was a big. Hillsborough was a big game, wasn't it?
No.
Dougie Stewart says Alan Johnson got the last league goal at Roker Park. Steve Taylor says Wallace and Stewart and Johnson scored the goals against Everton. Says Stewart, Waddle scored the last goal. Yeah, I'm sure it was. John Smile says, remember George Taylor commentating and talking to me at Roker Park saying, excuse me, as he went past. It's funny little things that you just remember, innit? Shoot, was it?
The programme was called Shoot on a Sunday afternoon.
That's right. I've seen the clips.
And Roger Thames.
He irritated me. I don't know why.
Why? He's a bit of a hoity-toity, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was a good commentator. He knew his stuff. But I don't know what it was. His voice didn't go with the football.
No, it didn't. It didn't go with the area.
It's like he should have been commentating on polo or something.
Aye, I know what you mean. Aye.
Do you know what I mean? But he was professional. He was good at what he did. But
he's done it a lot of years, you know.
And I did. But I'm not dissing him saying it was crap. It was like listening to a song out of key. It just didn't sound right.
Roger Thames, aye.
He was the ITV commentator.
Yeah, on Shoot and that.
That's right, aye. Brian Wade, hello Brian. He says, agree with Davey. Best game I watched was the Man City game. Lord saying Man City. He says, I was in the Roker end, remembering their goalkeeper got pulled up twice for taking the ball outside the box from the goal kick at the Fulwell end. David Knight says Villa 0, West Ham 1. That must be half time. Dougie says against Everton the last league game was Stewart, Penn 34, Waddle 57 and Johnson 68. I thought Waddle did score. D. Hall said the squad for Everton was Sunderland in goal. It was Perez, Hall, Johnson, Ord, Howie, Gray, Williams and Ball. Bracewell, Waddle, Stewart and Quinn. It says subs not used was Woods, Smith, Ray and Kelly. David Knight says, you're still a young'un. I think he's recording to me. Well, I was 50 last week, so I'm not that young, you know. John Smiles said, sticklebacks. He says, caught them with some thread and a worm tied on. Oh, I've done that before. My dad used to bring a bolt in from the shipyards, like a big bolt as a weight. That's how posh we were. Andrew Lewis has worked with Dickie Ord's sister at the council for years. He was an interesting lad. Sworn to secrecy, mind. Think George Taylor was a mag, says John. David Walker says Kenneth Wolstenholme did the commentary on our games on shoot for a while too. That's what he said and stuff.
But Kenneth Wolstenholme was the commentator for the World Cup final when we beat Germany.
Was he really?
Wembley, aye.
I'm just having a look. Some people's asking us about any news on the signings yet. There's nothing. I
know.
If you're going to hear something, it'll be late tonight. Or wake up 2 o'clock in the morning with a thingy. But son, and get your finger out. What the hell are you doing there?
He'd be down the town now, man, wouldn't he?
He'd be down the town now, aye.
Yeah, he'd be in Idols.
Oh, Idols, yeah. Did you ever buy the programmes when you went to Roker Park and Davey? Did you ever get the programmes?
I must have done when I was younger, like I. But once I started drinking and that, you didn't spend money on nothing else but drink, did you?
My mate had piles and piles and piles of them. Jason Webster. He had years. He probably still got them in with him. I always remember the elastic band around them, keeping them all together. I got the odd one, but I was never like I just couldn't see the fascination of them. Like, but I mean, I wish I could have, because it would have been great to look back at them.
Yeah.
Now, and I always remember the program shop outside Roker Park. You remember the program shop?
Yeah. The pie shop. I remember the pie shop on the corner.
Oh, aye. They used to, any programs that you missed, if you were a collector, you'd go to the program shop and
you could buy, and you could go and buy programs of the previous away game.
You could.
Right.
You had them all catalogued and numbered and stuff, and he'd put them in a little brown paper bag for you. He says, there you go.
Yeah.
I remember that really well. I'm trying to remember. Can you remember, did Sunderland have the only club shop they had on the ground was when they had the Roker Rover, wasn't it? A double-decker bus.
Oh, I remember that,
Aye. Because there wasn't a club shop actually on Roker Park, was there?
No.
They didn't have one. Mm-hmm. The Roker Rover, that was in the later stages of Roker, I think. Roker Park, late 80s, possibly early 90s, that was. David Walker says, be tomorrow now for the announcement. Dougie Stewart also says, worst commentator was Roger Thames. I do think it is. He is, aye. It is, aye. Do you know, there's that much to go on about Roker Park. You could probably do another 10 shows and still have hundreds of things to talk about.
Definitely. And I think the fans enjoy talking about the old days, didn't they?
The DI. I mean, does that mean we're getting older? Your memories seem to stand out more. I just think you treasure your memories more the older you get, didn't you?
It's funny how you remember your football days, but you can't remember last week.
Like I say, I always remember the noise the floodlights made when the electricity hit them.
When you kick in.
I used to just hear this like and loads of birds would fly off because obviously they got a fright, didn't they? And they used to, when the floodlights were just about getting warmed up, they were like a bright blue colour. You know, as they were getting warm, you know what I mean? And then once they warmed up, whoosh, you couldn't look at them. And then, and it's just weird how that just stays in me memory. For my best games, I mean, well, I enjoyed that. I wasn't at the Chelsea game, I was up here. I enjoyed the one where Kieran Brady, I think, we beat West Ham 4-3.
West Ham, aye.
I was in the Roker on a freezing cold day.
Yeah.
And that Cheer Up Peter Reid song season when we got promoted.
Yeah.
When we played Huddersfield Town. And do you know who Huddersfield Town goalkeeper was on that day?
No.
No, cheer up Peter Reid, oh, what can it mean? It was that was the year.
Aye.
And we went up as champions and we played Huddersfield Town. Which popular goalkeeper played for Huddersfield Town? And he came to the Fulwell end and the whole Fulwell end was just cheering for him.
Aye.
Do you know who it is?
No.
Tony Norman.
Tony Norman played, aye. Did play for Huddersfield, aye.
Tony Norman. And
quiet man, eh?
Eh?
The quiet man.
Aye.
You never heard from him, did you?
You didn't?
Didn't do any interviews or nothing like that.
Nah.
Just got on with his job.
He did. And I always remember we were losing 2-1 against Huddersfield. I think even that was the half-time score. And the referee blew for half-time. And one of the Huddersfield Town players hied the ball off one of our players, or he either threw it somewhere, but he got sent off. And because a player can get sent off even when the referees blew for half time, can't they?
Oh, I get sent off in the tunnel.
Yeah, but he got sent off. And we were still like 2-1 down, and of course we needed the points, wanting to get up, and it was really tense, really tense, and. It was Michael Bridges' first appearance for Sunderland.
Aye.
He came on as a sub, this tiny little weedy...
Aye, skinny legs, didn't he?
Skin thing that we ran on the pitch. And I remember Kevin Ball pointing as he ran
legs.
on. Aye, white legs.
Very white legs and skinny.
Aye. And you'll see, there's a clip, Kevin Ball points at Bridges like that and his finger follows him as if to say, like that, I'm watching you. And apparently... Kevin Ball gave him a pep talk in the changing rooms, telling him, you're going to do it today, lad. You're going to do it there. And what he was saying, when he was pointing the finger at Michael Bridges, he was saying, remember what I told you? You're going to do it. You're going to do it. And he pointed him and his finger was like a radar, followed him as he ran on until he was in his position. And well, he scored. Michael Bridges. He scored 2 goals, didn't he? To win it 3-2. 2 headers. And the third goal was very similar to the Gordon Armstrong header against Chelsea in the quarter-finals. It was a cracking cross. And Bridges, and I was standing at the far end of the paddocks, the Fulwell end, and I remember the cross coming in. And have you ever seen a Sunderland goal gone in and the ball seems to tack forever to get in the back of the net?
Aye.
It just squared across, hit his head, and straight away, the minute it hit his head, I could see where the ball was gone. It went straight to the top corner, but it seemed to take an age to fly in. But you see, the reason that being is because you're sort of behind, you're looking that way, and you don't get you really don't get the perception of depth, how far away from the goal he is. So it hits his head, and it just seemed to hang, and then bang into the top corner. And I was throwing all over the place in the clock stands. The paddocks, throwing all over. And I think another one was when we played... of course, our goalkeeper, ex-Newcastle goalkeeper, was in goal for us on loan, and he had an amazing season. Do you know who I'm talking about? Tony, Newcastle goalkeeper. On loan for Sunderland. And he had an absolute amazing season for Sunderland. He was saving all our.
Aye.
Shea Given.
Oh, Shea, aye. Tremendous.
And
he was brilliant for Sunderland, him.
He was. I remember when we were playing Oldham Athletic, and it was another tense game. It was it could have been the game after Oldham. and it was 0-0. And, we wanted the points, we wanted the championship, we wanted to get up. You could imagine how tense it was. There wasn't very many games left of the season. And it was 0-0, and it went on and on and on, and it was just getting more and more tense as it gets getting nearer to full time. And then there's all of a sudden there's a ball played through. There's like a 1-2, and somebody leaves it. I think it was a Kevin Ball left it, and Martin Scott nips in. He runs wide, and I just remember from the same area I watched the Michael Bridges goal. Scotty just smacked it, and I've just seen the side of the net bulge, scoring the goal. And once again, I was getting flung out with the crush barriers and everything. It went absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Mad. Now, there's a YouTube video, and it shows you an amazing angle. There's no commentator on it, and it shows you Martin Scott scoring that goal. Wait till you hear the roar when that guns in. And you say to me, the Roker roar for the Man City game, and you saying there was like 70-odd thousand at that ground.
Oh, easy, aye.
There must have been only about 25,000 against Fulham, because that was after Hillsborough. And after Hillsborough, they reduced the capacity even more for safety reasons.
Right.
But you just listen to the noise at Roker Park. We're only 20-odd thousand in when Martin Scott scored.
Aye.
It's put your headphones on or whatever and crank it up full volume. The roar is just tremendous.
I'll have to do that.
Absolutely tremendous, that like. and then of course Oldham nearly equalised at the death. They ran up the other end, and he rounded one of the defenders, and the way Shea Given was positioned, the goal was empty. There was nobody in it, and I think he smacked it towards the goal, and then Shea Given just got there at the last minute to pounce on it, and that was literally 20 seconds to go before full time. And Shea Given dove on it to save it at the last minute, and we all walked on home. We caught the highlights in Dixon's electrical store in the town centre. And we were all like cheering when the goal went in, as if we'd never seen it. It must have been 100 of our Sunderland fans crowding around the electrical store, watching the highlights. It must have been on Look North on News or something.
Yeah.
And we should have heard the cheer because obviously the Bridges then it wasn't. Or was it? Yeah, I think the Bridges was it inside shopping centre there and had the roof on.
Right.
And there was a massive roar. Watching it from the telly again, as if it's just a brand new game.
Right.
It was absolutely magic.
Well, great reminiscent, Cubby, but it's after 9 o'clock. Blue.
God, is that the Jesus Christ? It is. Sorry, guys, for running late.
9 o'clock. I hope all the lads have enjoyed the reminiscence.
Alright, there's even loads of messages. I'm going to quickly whip through them, Davey, before we sign off. Pixel says, wasn't the latter day programmes called the Roker Review? I think you are right. D. Hall says, actor and Sunderland supporter Peter O'Toole described Roker Park as his connection to the club. Pixel says, Tony Norman, yeah. Ken Walton says, thanks for the memories. Hallam in 73, the best. Pixelovich says Michael Bridges, I nicknamed him the Stick Man. He then popped up and scored the equaliser, then the winner. Great game. I was in the Roker end, now taking my daughter. Yeah. Colin Major says, yeah, Michael Bridges, super sub, he was. Umar Mackem MFC says, Cabbie, you doing the live commentary? I am indeed, with the commentary in the background. I'm doing that tomorrow. Kick off. Dougie Stewart says, Premier Passions already swearing. D. Hall says the highest number of spectators was 75,118 for a replay against Derby in 1933. I don't think many of us was there. He says, but the safety regulations and installation of seats eventually reduced the capacity to 22,657. John Smiles says, let's hope that Lafay is as good as they say he is. How were the lads? D. Hall says Martin Smith. I think he was in the subs on one of the things we're talking about. Andrew Moore says, all good. It's past my bedtime now, though. Brilliant night, loved it. And Dougie says, Davy's doggies need walking. What are you doing?
Yeah, come on!
Davey, it's been a pleasure. And do you know what?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. And thank all the people for texting in. It's been absolutely great.
Aye, and we haven't even scratched the surface of memories.
Nah. We'll have to have another one, son.
We'll have to have another one, part two. Take care, Davey.
Tomorrow.
You too, Davey. Take care, mate.
Yeah.
Ta-ra, mate. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I've enjoyed it. Like I say, we've not even touched the sides of what we could talk about Roker Park. We will do a part 2 very soon. Pixel Rich says, about beating Chelsea 3-0 and Barley's diving header, absolute quality, isn't it? But there's loads more to talk about. Anyway, I'm going to get my pizza now it's arrived. Cheers, everybody, for tuning in. And any news on any signings of our that Lafay, I will straight away put a news flash video up if I hear anything. But until then, you can tune in and see the live watch along and commentary Sunderland against Stoke tomorrow 3 o'clock.